This video is going to do a brief review on how to solve one-step, two-step, and multi-step equations. First, we're going to start with the one-step equations. When you're solving one-step equations, what you would want to do is the inverse operation of addition or subtraction, or do the inverse operation of multiplication and division. Our goal is to get x by itself, to isolate the variable. So here I have x minus 4 equals 7. So what I want to do is the inverse of subtracting 4, which would be adding 4 to both sides. I get x, negative 4 and 4 gives me 0, so x equals 7 plus 4 is 11. If I move down here, I again want to do the inverse operation of multiplication or division, or addition or subtraction. Here I have 2/3 times x equals 4. Now the reason why I chose this to go over is because this is a special case. 2/3 is being multiplied by x, so we would want to divide by 2/3. But when you divide by a fraction, you have to do keep, change, reciprocal. So in the end, we're just going to be multiplying by the reciprocal of 2/3, which is 3 over 2. 3 times 2 is 6 over 6x equals 4 over 1 times 3 over 2 gives you 12 over 2. You always want to reduce. So 6 over 6 is 1x, or just x, equals 12 divided by 2 gives you 6. Moving on to two-step equations. These can get a little bit complicated. First, what you want to do is the inverse operation of addition or subtraction. So here I have 2x plus 6 equals 15. Again, I'm trying to get x by itself. So I want to do the inverse operation of addition or subtraction first. So here I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. I have 2x left over. 6 minus 6 gives me 0. And 15 minus 6 gives me 9. Now I have 2x equals 9. This looks exactly like a one-step equation. So I want to do the inverse operation of multiplication or division. I have 2 times x equals 9, so I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. I'm going to now get as my final answer a fraction. Students tend to get freaked out by having a fraction or a decimal as your answer, but it's okay. We did everything right here. It's okay to get a fraction as an answer. So I prefer improper fractions, so I'm going to leave this as 9 over 2, but you can also leave this as 4 and 1/2 as a mixed number. I'm going to do another two-step equation. So here again, my steps are the inverse operation of addition or subtraction first. So here I have 3/4 times x minus 5 equals 1. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I get 3/4 x left over. Negative 5 and 5 make 0, and it will equal 6. Now again, this goes back to the one-step equation special case, where I have 3/4 times x, so I would want to do division. However, here, because I would be dividing by a fraction, I'm going just to skip to multiplying by the reciprocal. I should have wrote 3 instead of 2. 4 over 3. So 4 times 3 is 12 over 12x equals 6 over 1 times 4 over 3 gives me 24 over 3. 12 over 12 gives me 1, or 1x, and 1x can be written as just simply x. 24 divided by 3 gives me 8, so my final answer is 8. Using all this knowledge that we have now, we're going to look at a multi-step equation. There are more steps here, and it could become a little bit more difficult for students. So the steps in doing a multi-step equation. The first step is to distribute wherever you can. Remembering the distributive property from 6th grade, what we want to do is take this 2 and multiply it into the parentheses. So our result would be 2x, 2 times -7 gives me -14, plus 3x, and now I'm just simply writing everything else over, because I did nothing else in that line. The next step when solving multi-step equations is to combine like terms on either side of the equal sign. Now remember, like terms are constants or terms with the same variable. So here I have 2x and 3x. So 2 and 3 gives me 5x minus 14 equals, I have 3 and I have -6. So it's 3 minus 6, which gives me -3 minus 4x. The next step is to bring the x's to the side with a bigger coefficient. So 5 is bigger than -4, so I'm going to be adding 4 to both sides. Remember, we always use inverse operations. 4 and 5 gives me 9x minus 14 equals -3. Now I want to move everything else to the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to add 14 to both sides. I'll get 9x equals 14 minus 3 gives me 11. Now using the one-step equation knowledge, I'm going to divide by 9 on both sides. Again, it's okay to get a fraction. I'm going to leave this as an improper fraction. That's okay. Doesn't mean it's wrong. If I did get a fraction and I wanted to check my work, I would go back and read throughout my problem to make sure everything's correct. Let's do one more multi-step just to practice. So again, the first step is to distribute where possible. So in this problem, I'm distributing twice. -5 times 4x gives me -20x. -5 times a -2 gives me +10. -2 times 3 is -6, and -2 times 6 is -12x. Now I need to combine like terms on either side of the equal sign. However, there are no like terms, so I can skip to bringing the x's or the variables to the side with the bigger coefficient. -12 is bigger than -20, so I'm going to add 20x to both sides. I'll get 10 equals -6 plus 8x. So I brought my letters to one side, I need to bring my numbers to the other. I will get 16 equals 8x. Now to solve and isolate the variable, I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides, and I will get x equals 2. So this is just a brief introduction, a brief review, of how to solve equations.